I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The way of the world, above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Oh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. Day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help when no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the NXT Post-Show Rewind presented by Dirt Sheet Radio. I'm Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, here with little Molly Holly, the long-haired Chihuahua, and who do we got in the house tonight?
It is Mac. It's vacation week, so I am here watching WWE. Why do I put myself through this on vacation? I don't know why.
Well, I mean, hey, it's NXT, so, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
not as WWE as some of the other WWE things. You know,
Yeah.
we don't have to deal with as frequent occurrences of celebrity involvement or things like that, outside of, like, Sexy Red from time to time showing up. But it's been a while since.
What, you don't like the
we've had
you don't like the Fiend song, Tyler?
Oh God! If I, after Mania weekend, if I never hear Fiend for the rest of my life, I will be okay. I'll make it through. I really, really will. I hate it. You know what's funny? It's like, and I get that the repetitive nature of any song that you hear that much is probably going to drive you insane. But like, I feel like I didn't have that happen as much, 20 years ago. When it
Yeah.
was like, My Way by Limp Bizkit or Ride of Your Life by Neurotica for King of the Ring 2003. Like that stuff didn't grate on me as much. I don't know.
Yeah, like Puddle of Mud Control, like I didn't hear that song for like 10 years, and then I heard it and I was like, "Oh, this is great again." Like I was so sick of hearing it from the WWE pay-per-views, but
Yeah.
hey, listen, like I had to stop listening to The Weeknd for a while because that dude's been at like that had the past 6 songs at WrestleMania, so I had to
Oh
take a
yeah,
little
he's
break from The Weeknd.
gotta be holding a record for that at this point.
He's got to be
But
in the Hall of Fame.
right, soon. Very next year he'll be the celebrity inductee. But
Yeah.
guys, we got a lot to hit on here tonight. Before we can get into it, though, real quick shout out to the us on the web. That's dirtsheetradio.com for all of your professional wrestling, pop culture, entertainment needs. Molly, make it your homepage. Check it out multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated to do so, but because we genuinely love to do it. Molly, you look like you're getting restless. Oh, you're going that way. Okay. Guys, we're here to talk about NXT, and we have a bit to cover. We are just, about a weekish away from Battleground, coming up on the 25th, so right around the corner, and the card's just about locked in. But yeah, we're going to hit it from the start here. The show opened with a quick recap of last week's 25-man Battle Royal, in which we saw Miles Bourne win and become the number one contender. Which, again, last week, that was a big shock, I think, for a lot of people. No one really saw that one, especially when it came down to the final 3 that it did. But, hey, NXT likes to throw those curveballs sometimes. Shawn Michaels likes to keep us guessing every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised when I saw that Miles Bourne won it. It's kind of like that underdog story. You know, put David up against Goliath and just see what happens. And from what I saw of, we'll get into it, but what I saw of Miles Bourne tonight in his match, I wasn't I wasn't really like, oh, this guy doesn't get it. I was like, wow, this guy looks pretty polished for
Yeah.
being 25 years old and not having a lot of TV time prior to him winning the Battle Royal. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, he's come along really well and really quickly. Hey, Tony, how's it going tonight, man?
Hey, Tony.
But yeah. So after the quick recap there, we opened with the show and went right into the Performance Center proper, and out came the No Quarter Catch crew there. Being led this time around by Miles Bourne. You can tell Charlie Dempsey just absolutely thrilled with the scenario and everything that's going on right now. But yeah, he hit the ring, and Miles cut a promo here, and he got a pretty solid promo, I thought. He has spoken in backstage segments in very short snippets with the No Quarter Catch crew, and this was the longest promo he's cut. For those of you that didn't know, you certainly know after tonight, Miles Bourne is deaf, or partially deaf is how he put it tonight.
Yeah.
And that's, why his, candor and tone of voice is the way it is. But I thought he came across very well on the mic here, very genuine, just a very from the heart, passionate promo here, talking about, growing up with the disability hearing loss and, being the dark horse last week in that Battle Royal and coming on top. Mac, what you think of Miles Bourne on the mic here tonight?
So, like I said, I get all my information of NXT from your show, watching on Tuesdays while I'm at work, and you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
But when he started talking, I was like, is he nervous? What's this accent? Like, I actually like trying to figure it out. Then when he said like, "Oh, I'm partially deaf," I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I thought to myself right when he said that, I'm like, dude, they should play off of this like disability thing. And then he went right into like I grew up with this, and this has
Mm-hmm.
hindered me my whole career. And I was like, oh, dude, this is great. Like, this adds such a wrinkle to the Oba Femi story. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really did wait for a long time to, address it on NXT proper. It was kind of in the category of one of those, like, if you knew, you knew kind of things.
Yeah.
Like I said, they've made a couple little lighthearted jokes about it over, their tenure here on NXT. I recall right around Christmas, Tavion asked him, what the holidays were like at his house, and he said, they're pretty quiet for me. So like they've made little kind of not barbs, but like little insinuations and jokes here and there for it. But yeah, and it's smart to make it part of his character.
Yeah.
It's a relatability thing, and two, it's a perception is not the right word I'm looking here for. It's important for kids, especially growing up with anything like that, to see someone in a prominent lead role in something like this, but both in like acting, but especially professional wrestling and sports in general. It can be very inspirational, and it's getting to see that there is pretty rad. And as he was speaking, he was sadly interrupted by a cloud of smoke. I
Dude,
guess
what was up with all the fog? Did they like have to like run out of the fog? Did they need to get like, was this their like fog budget? And they're like, oh man, we're in the middle of the month and we haven't used any fog yet.
It's like, oh shoot, guys, if we don't use any fog, they're going to cut our fog budget next month.
Yeah.
Like that episode of The Office where you have the surplus and you got to spend it,
Oh, yeah.
or they're gonna.
Yeah.
It's they for every ounce of pyro that Cody gets on the main roster, they get a pound of fog for NXT. That's kind of how that works.
All right.
Yeah, they capture the smoke from Cody's pyro, and then they take it down to Florida, and there we go.
In little cups.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw that and just like, what? It's like RVD walking out of a bathroom stall. Like it was.
Dude, it was egregious later on with Tony D'Angelo and Stephanie Vacker. It was just like, you didn't see Stephanie Vacker when she came out for like a good 15 seconds.
Well, and the red light for both of them makes it so much worse. It's oh my God, it's a fog light. But after the smoke cleared and it settled out, Ethan Page began to just run down Miles Bourne, telling him that he doesn't have what it takes to be Oba Femi. And this got from the audience a "Miles can't hear you" chant.
It's a little distasteful, don't you think?
I'm going to say yes and no, because again, I feel like they're maybe a little more in that if you knew kind of crowd. They're a little weirdly closer with the talent in the performance center.
I felt like Miles wouldn't care, but like for somebody like me who is watching the show for the first time in like a year, I mean I keep up with it. I know the storylines and everything, but actually like watching it, I was just like, okay, that's kind of funny, but that's kind of fucked up.
Sure. Yeah, it was a little soon, but I mean, just wait for it here. When the inevitable piece of Miles Bourne merch hits the shelves here, it's going to have something to do with it.
Oh,
like Miles Bourne can't hear the hate, like something to that degree. And that's what they're going, and it will sell too.
I know
it'll be
will.
on signs,
Yeah.
like it'll be,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. You don't want to get too kitschy with it, where it becomes like just very flippant. It is a line. And that's the thing, too. I'm sure that he's not going to do anything he's comfortable with, but also when you're in a position of, up and coming like he is, you probably are afraid to say no to a whole lot of things, too. But
yeah, I think I don't know if I'm breaking news here, but there was a picture floating around online of Miles Bourne and Stephanie Vacker together at a party, being like very close. So it looks like they're in a relationship. And I sent you the photo in the Facebook Messenger, and I said, Miles got game, and you said he can't hear any haters. So there's your shirt.
There it is. That's it. He absolutely cannot. He absolutely cannot. Actually, I'm going to grab that picture here real quick. I meant to upload that before we started, but yeah. So I mean, are they a thing? Is that?
Well, there's another picture floating around, and they're standing like close to each other, and he's got like his arms around her in one photo, and then there's another photo where she's just standing there cheesing next to him. So I mean, kind of looks like it, but yeah, it's been floating around online all day.
I mean that performance center is just basically an aphrodisiac.
Yeah, it's Hickenbottom High, I think you said one
time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who to give proper credit to for that. It went around, I think John said it was him, but like we had given either Malik or DC credit for it. It's that's been going a while. But there we are. Yeah, so I mean that just it's hookup central down there.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. You take a lot of young athletic, attractive people just raging full of, muscle and hormone. And this is what it's the same thing with the Olympics.
You put them
It
in a
happens.
2-mile radius. I mean,
Yeah, it's basically they're living on a compound more or less by the performance center.
yeah.
But back to Ethan's rundown and promo here. He, in what he was saying, said that said that Miles should put on the line his contendership for the NXT Championship. And boy, howdy, Charlie Dempsey was all over that. He was
Yeah.
gung ho. Was like, yeah, that's a great idea. You should do that. Prove your worth. Do it.
Ethan said that Miles might have been worse than Ricky Saints at pandering to basic civilians.
Jesus. Oh man.
And then he said, he goes, when they started chanting Miles can't hear you, he said, let me say it slow so you can understand. You can't beat Oba.
I think he apologized for not having closed captioning on himself.
Yes, that's what he said too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He said he's not on. He said he's not on Oba's level, and he doesn't deserve the shot, so he wants to get that shot himself.
Yeah. And, after some quick, coercing, especially, from his friend, Charlie Dempsey, also agreeing with it, Miles agreed to it. And this, of course, summoned, again, as I say every week, dressed how girls dressed when I was in high school. It's interesting how trends come back. But Ava Raine dodging releases over the last couple weeks. I wonder how she did that.
Yeah.
But she makes it official here tonight. And the match will happen later this evening, and we will, of course, discuss that. Mac, you I know you kind of dip into NXT periodically, and so I always kind of like to ask this when we have people on that don't see it week to week, because you can kind of see bigger differences in talent. How do you see Ava Raine at this point?
So, I mean, she's obviously a Nepo baby. Obviously, and I don't say that derogatory. I mean, I say that factually because, she's The Rock's daughter. So, of course, she's going to, bob and weave like, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman when the releases come around. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like, I think that any talking head could do that job. I'm not saying I don't like her. I mean, I think she's a staple in NXT now. She's on TV every week in like 3 or 4 segments at least, But anybody could do that. Like Stevie Turner could do that. What's
Mr.
his
Stone?
name?
Robert Stone?
Robert Stone. I was just about to call him Robbie E. But Robert Stone could do that. I mean, you could basically have anybody doing that job. But if she didn't have, the last name Johnson, I don't think she would be in that spot. But that's not to say that I don't like her, because I do. I think, if she's not getting the wrestling thing down, then this is the perfect spot for her.
Right. And she has improved. I think at some point along the way they hired her an acting coach.
Yeah.
I always joke it was after the week that The Rock was at NXT. Like, he watched it firsthand. He's like, holy hell.
Was that the one where he had the interaction with Ethan Page backstage?
Yeah, that was the night where he told Ava, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm just going to go out there. And I'm like, oh, that's just what The Rock's saying. And then he went out there that night and really just rambled on and meandered through a horrid promo.
And swore and everything, yeah.
Yeah, because you can say fucking bitch on the CW if you're The Rock.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But no, yeah, I it's whatever. It's NXT. She's the general manager. It doesn't really matter.
No. But so she makes it official and says that match will happen later tonight. But happening right now is a match that was plugged and made official last week. Charlie Dempsey taking on NXT champion Oba Femi. And this brought Oba Femi to the ring. And back from the commercial, we had... Oh, he's just a beast. I say this every single week. If Vince McMahon had still been in control of WWE, Oba Femi would have been on the roster 2 weeks after the breakout tournament.
Yeah, and he'd probably be just like Omos right now, just eating all the food and catering,
Actually, he probably would have been in a faction with Omos.
Oh, God. Yeah, because all black guys got to be in a faction.
And Apollo. That would have been the 3 that Vince would have put together.
Oh, God.
I'm right. It's terrible, but I'm right.
And you know what he would have called that faction? Ooh-ah Nation.
Oh, yeah. I'm buying the rights. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Let's just be
But
glad that didn't happen.
I got to tell you something, man. Like the WWE style of wrestling is not usually for me. I'm a big indie mark. I'm a big AEW guy. I know that people are going to hear that. Oh, fucking mark, but whatever. Um, but I really enjoyed this match because I look at Charlie Dempsey as kind of like a throwback to
Mhm.
like his dad. Honestly, like I was a big William Regal fan. I was more of a WCW guy growing up, so I watched a lot of Lord Steven Regal versus Fit
Yeah.
Finley, Lord Steven Regal versus Arn Anderson. Like I watched all that, and anytime I see Charlie Dempsey, I'm just like, all right, I'm so happy with this because you saw in this match that he was like, all right, I'm not going to be able to pick up this guy. I'm not going to be able to overpower him. So let me just work on this arm for
Hmm.
the whole entire time and kick his arm. And you saw, and the psychology in this match was awesome because he just tried to break down Oba Femi, and then the character work of Oba Femi just working through that and being like, no, fuck you, I'm a beast. I don't need my arm. Was
Right.
it was a very well told story in about a 7 minute match. You really couldn't ask for anything more in this match.
No, and it was a really, really good opener, and like you said, I enjoyed that angle of the storytelling. Charlie's a smart wrestler. I mean, obviously, he's got his dad in his ear. Looks just like his dad. I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
when Charlie speaks, like every third word just has a twinge of a British accent to it, and I find that very, very interesting.
yeah,
But
yeah. I remember when he was a ring boy for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and there was that picture floating around where he looked exactly like Kenny Omega.
yeah, but yeah, he's great. He's
Yeah,
really, really great, and I think that we are starting to lean into that fracturing of the No Quarter Catch crew, where I'm assuming that Charlie's going to break out and kind of just be on his own. But yeah,
yeah.
I like him a lot. He's they've plugged him around. He's done done some time in Noah. He's done a couple of blood sport matches, and I mean, and it's hard to be a traveled territory style wrestler nowadays. Virtually impossible, but he's trying his hardest. I feel like to get
Yeah,
those
I,
kind
I
of
think he
reps in.
I think he even had a match or two in TNA when he
Mhm.
crossed the line. I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, man, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm a I'm a huge, huge, huge Charlie Dempsey fan. He just reminds me of his dad, and I'm getting to that age. I'm going to be 43 at the end of this month, so I'm getting to that age where I'm starting to see like all the sons of wrestlers and all the sons of actors in
Hmm.
movies now, and I'm like, oh hey, this is pretty cool. So anytime I can watch Charlie Dempsey wrestle, I go out of my way. Even if he's wrestling on NXT and I'm at work, I'll find a way to watch his match.
Yeah, he's great. He's and again, it's like it's big. It's a big shadow to have to step out of when you're the son, not just of a well-known wrestler, but a wrestler that's so highly regarded as a technician.
Oh yeah, and so
And it's just
highly
like,
regarded by his peers as well.
yeah, yeah, just a wrestler's wrestler.
Yeah.
You never hear anybody say anything really bad about William Regal. It's just, and I can say this too from a personal standpoint. Ran into the guy in New Orleans during WrestleMania 30 weekend. Awesome guy. Actually, funnily enough, Charlie was with him. I didn't realize that until like a couple years later when I started seeing like Charlie pop up
Yep.
on things, but he was maybe like 15 or so. I'm not 100% on that. But
Yep.
William Regal was super cool. Like, really nice guy, like, just willing to chat with you. Loves wrestling, loves the fans. But yeah, so he's got, he had a lot to step up to, but, he's got a great base of trainers here and he's come along well. And, I don't know what they would really have for him main roster wise when that comes, but they could just plug him kind of in and make him the kind of wrestler that Regal was. Just
You
pull
know,
people
you
down to the ground.
I was kind of actually thinking about this the other day because I was like, they haven't really, and I know he just had a baby and he's been off. But Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, like they were working towards like kind of like a split even before they got back together for a couple matches. They lost, and then Tyler Bate was the, oh mate, don't worry about it, we'll get back on track, and Pete Dunne was kind of just like, ugh. Like I would love to see like a Pete Dunne and a Charlie Dempsey together like that. Just two little, not little, but two bulldogs, just like and even if they do get the Tyler Bate like treatment on Raw or they're on main event, like still just having Charlie Dempsey on the main roster would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that God, I was going to say, like, I don't even think his character would not connect. I think he could get over, character wise pretty easily, and I think his in ring work would, convince the rest of the crowd. I think you give him, 10 minutes on Raw or SmackDown, with really just about anybody, and I think
Yeah,
he'd be able to convince most people that he's,
yeah,
supposed to be there.
yeah. But I mean, I love this match, man. Dempsey just powered through, and I mean, sorry, Oba just powered through, and Oba Femi eventually won the match with the fall from grace. So that, and then he stared down Miles Bourne. Well, not really stared him down, kind of like looked at him a couple of times and gave him like the, yeah, okay, kid, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but I'm looking forward to the match. Obviously, I would be stunned if Miles Bourne beats Oba Femi, but I think
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good match. And I said this last week, and I'll say this again. I do think that this is going to be a watermark moment for Miles Bourne here. I think that management, both NXT obviously, but I think main roster will be paying closer attention to this match, and I think this could be a little bit of a sink or swim
yeah,
moment for Miles. And they've used Oba in that spot multiple times with other wrestlers. When they released Duke Hudson not long after it came out, it was said that it was his match with Oba Femi where management was like, you know what, we don't see it. So
yeah.
he's gone, which I was actually impressed by that match going back. But I think this is going to be big for him. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's going to come out looking well for it, though.
It's crazy that they released Duke Hudson and then like 2 months later they start back up Chase U. That was
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, poor Duke. And well, also, I mean, they one of the releases recently was Riley Osborne. So
Born, yeah.
the,
But did you hear the rumor about Riley Osborne?
about him not wanting to work Evolve.
Evolve and LFG, yeah. And they basically were like, "Hey, we want you to get on here." He's like, "Why would I take a demotion?" Like, and they're like, "All right, see you later, bye."
Yeah, like I mean, it's like, come on, man. What, you think you're better than Nikita Lyons? I mean,
Hmm.
you are, but that's beside the point. What I mean? It's not like he wouldn't have been back to NXT eventually. Like it happens. But
What
yeah,
do you think you're
so
better? What do you think you're better than Swipe Right? I mean, you are, but
I kind of like Swipe Right though. They when they were on NXT a couple weeks ago, they did impress me. I felt like they gave everything they had in that like 5.5 minute match, and they made an impact on me. And what a just obnoxious name! It pissed me off immediately because
obnoxious promos.
yeah, because I'm 40, so like I understand the concept of swipe right. I'm too old to have ever actually seen Tinter's interface, but I understand how it works. But like their Gen Z-ness pissed me off immediately. So good for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Hey, if it works,
I
it works.
They make me want to shake my fist at a cloud and
Okay,
whatever.
all right, Abe Simpson. But next we had Tatum Paxley throwing a tantrum backstage when she is confronted by Thea Hale and Carmen Petrovic, and just screaming at Hall, saying that, "Oh, is that your new best friend? Well, she's going to leave you too, just like everybody left me." Like, is it crazy to you, Tyler, that they're actually like saying the quiet part out loud without saying it, like
I
referencing Shotzi and Gigi being released, but not really saying it?
well, I mean, the thing is, it's like you can either ignore it completely, which is going to have its own pitfall to it, where it's just like then it's going to you feel that fans are being spoken down to or treated like idiots.
Yeah,
And then you're right. This is the quiet part out loud. I even wrote, and I always kind of write sometimes they're kind of serious, but usually they're kind of tongue in cheek, jokey questions that I write into my NXT preview every week.
yeah,
And for Tatum, I was asking about, like, can she find new friends?
yeah.
And so far, the answer is no. And we'll get into the match that's set up for between her and Thea Hale later tonight. But I wondered if they would address this because I love Tatum Paxley. I think Tatum Paxley is one really good in the ring. I think she's got a sick looking finisher,
Nope.
and she's got a cool character. And I think she understands her character. She's good at her character. She knows what her character is supposed to do. And I think just as importantly, she knows what her character shouldn't do most of the time. And it's cool. It can be quirky and it can also be dark. And I think we might be starting to lean a little darker here based on how she was tonight. But I was a little surprised that they so blatantly had her say, "My friends are gone." Like they were just one step from
Yeah.
her being like, "My friends were fired." Like, this is bullshit. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
Yeah.
they had to do something with her. I'm glad she's still on TV. When they released Gigi and Shotzi, I was pretty scared for Tatum at that point because
Yeah.
I liked their group too. I thought it was a cool, cool not pairing but grouping.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, we see Tony D making his entrance, and they send us to break. We come back, and Ethan Page is warming up backstage when Ricky Saints rolls up and talks about how he loves raining on people's parades. All Ego says he's surprised it took him so long to catch on. He loves ruining moments, and he's going to ruin Miles Bourne's moment to be in the NXT Championship match at Battleground because he is going to beat him.
Every time that they show Ethan Page prepping for a match backstage, he's always using the bands. That's like the only thing they ever show him doing. So it
That's
just
like
makes
when
me.
Brock Lesnar used to be backstage. He was just
Yep.
pumping the truss.
God. Oh my God. I haven't thought about that in a while. Damn it, Brock.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, today at 9 a.m., WWE filed to trademark the term "the high rise."
Mm.
So that will play in. So if you want to take us into this next thing,
Yeah, we had a quick pre-taped vignette here. I can't remember if this was the progressive spotlight or not on this one. I know they use that sometimes. But
yeah,
we had Wes Lee and Tyson and Tyreek here, and they kind of reintroduced themselves as the High Rise, spelled RYZE.
yep.
You know, as names for stables go, and as some names for NXT go, this isn't bad. This isn't terrible. They've
There's a bunch of weed like reference the high and then our rise. So it works.
which is true to form for Wes Lee's kind of gimmicks over the years. That's kind of they even used to do the 70s show rotating smoke chair segment
Yeah, in
with
TNA. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
They did it once on NXT television, but without any actual smoke in there. They're like, we can only get away with so much here on the CW, unless The Rock is
I guess
directly
their
involved.
fog budget wasn't up to snuff that day.
Oh man. But no, I'm glad that they gave them an official name. They've had them grouped together for a couple months now.
Yeah,
I
it's been a
feel like.
while.
And I wasn't against them giving Wesley a heavy or two, as it is in this case. Wes, while a very talented in-ring performer and really good as a character worker as well, he's not a huge guy. And I
Yeah,
feel like sometimes that helps with the perception. I mean, going, all the way, as far back as like Shawn Michaels with Diesel, it was, it helps him out. It
yeah.
makes them,
It gives him two big heaters, which is always good.
which as a undersized heel, it helps. As an undersized face, obviously you wouldn't want that. But
Yeah,
but I've dug Wesley's heel work here. I was surprised when he turned on Zach, and I was ready to see what they could do with it. NXT likes to do those, let's try him as a heel before they make their way up to the main roster because we just want to see if they can do it or not. And
yeah,
he's really knocked it out of the park as a heel. I think he's done a hell of a job.
yeah. He's done really good. And you know what? You know me, and we've known each other for a while. You know that I do not enjoy Tony D'Angelo, but I actually enjoyed him here. I
He's
really, I really enjoyed the big man versus like little man thing, like the big guy trying to overpower the flippy guy and the flippy guy just doing flips and the big guy not being able to get out of the way. It was a good dynamic. I really enjoyed this match as well.
well, and again, it's like not seeing Tony D probably directly for a hot minute. I think Tony's improved a lot over the last year. Not just in ring, but really kind of getting a good grasp on the character as a mob boss, but not being like so over the top and cartoony about it.
Yeah,
Although they are still committing like capital crimes on live television week after week, and no
Oh
one's
yeah.
doing anything. Like I said, Luca Crusifino has been missing for like 3 weeks now, ever since he went up to the desert with Stack. So I'm assuming
Y-
he's dead.
Yeah, and I guess so all right, we're gonna get into it after this match, but I just want to say that the if it was executed a little bit better, it would have been a really cool moment, but it was still cool when Wes Lee went for the cardiac kick and Tony speared him out of the air. It
Hmm.
was a little sloppy, but
Yeah,
it still worked. It looked good.
yeah, yeah. I dug that, and I got scared for half a second because I felt like something was going wrong, and I'm like, okay, this was a planned spot.
Yeah,
But you're right. It did look just a hair clunky on there. I think they were just maybe a little too far apart
yeah,
before the impact. But overall, it did look good, and it was something that made Tony look a little more spry and quick, which you don't get a lot of moments like that out of
yeah.
Tony.
I also enjoyed when he hip tossed Desmond onto Tyson and Tyreek on the outside, and they caught him, and then he dove off the apron on top of him,
Mhm.
and then a little later on in the match, he they caught him again, and he gave them both double clotheslines. And the sound of those clotheslines, it sounded like a gunshot going off. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, dude! I was like, that was awesome. But yeah,
Oh, there was one other. West reversed a spine buster. He lifted up for a spine buster, and West hit a hurricane run out of it.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was one I didn't see coming either. Like it, so they had some good back and forth here. Really, it was I think overperformed the expectations of this match.
yeah. So
But
okay, so here's the big part that I had a problem with. Okay, so towards the end of the match, it looks like Tony's going to win.
right,
And Channing Stacks Lorenzo appears on the big screen and he says, "Oh, what? Do you think that I forgot where we used to put people in safe houses? I know Adriana's in here and I think I'll go, pay her a visit." And I said to myself, like, so in NXT canon, for the past 2.5 years, Tony has been teaching Stacks everything that he knows, all of his hiding places, all the places where he puts stuff. So why in the fuck would Tony put Adriana Rizzo in the same safe house that he
right.
that cha- that Stacks know about? Like,
Yeah, that was a bit of a plot hole there. It's like Tony, you should have thought that through. You didn't have anywhere else. You couldn't get a hold of you know, one of the, FBI members that they established on air that they're all one family. You
yeah,
couldn't
like,
get, Tony Marmaluke or somebody couldn't hide her away. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, but so obviously, this caused a major distraction for Tony
yeah,
B,
yeah,
which,
and he turned around into the cardiac kick, and Wes got the pin, and he got out of there
yeah.
like a true heel
Um,
does.
despite the fact that Tony's arm was under the rope.
Dude, I said the same thing watching it. I was like, but here's the thing, like it's all about referee positioning, so that's how I
That's
justify
fair.
it in my head. Yeah. Because
That's
the
fair.
referee was on the other side of the pin, and if he was over on the other side, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, well, they're just ignoring it." But that's how I justify it in my head. I just go, "It was positioning, he didn't see it."
And I can get behind that, and I like that. That's a nice, kind of real sport viewpoint on
Yeah.
something like that. And I actually, speaking of referees too, I wish they'd go back to like saying their names more often. They
Yeah.
went away from that years ago, and I always enjoyed that because referees don't make them full characters. Obviously, you
No.
don't need to get them that involved, but referees are human beings, and
Yeah.
referees in boxing and the UFC, sometimes you're going to train a certain way if you have a certain ref, because certain refs are going to be more lenient with certain things than other referees are. And I like that for that to be a little more established in professional wrestling. Like, well, guys like to have so and so in a title match because they know he's going to give them a slow count on the outside because he
Yeah.
likes to see a winner. Like,
But they
I
do,
like things like that.
but they reference that sometimes too with especially with what's her face? She's Calix on of all Jessica Carr.
Yeah, yeah.
They always say like, oh, Jessica Carr was out of position. Oh, referee Jessica Carr, like, but she's the only one. They sometimes what's her name? The one that's married to the dude that beat Gargano for the NXT title. What was his name? The dude when they put the belt around his waist, it fell down.
Oh,
because he
Jesus.
wasn't supposed to win it. Yeah, I forget what his name was, but her, the black referee on SmackDown, they say her name sometimes. Tyler, or that no, that's the ring
Uh,
announcer, but they say her name
that's Alicia.
sometimes too.
Um, Fudge. What is her name? Hold on. This is gonna drive me
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, I can't remember
Daphne.
it.
Daphne LaShawn.
Is that her?
That is what's coming up here.
Okay,
SmackDown referee.
okay.
Looks like okay. So it's Asia Smith. Okay, different names are coming up
Asia
here.
Smith, that's her.
Yeah. So okay, I'm guessing then that was what the first name I said was her shoot name, or was that her? Yeah.
Yeah, Asia Smith. Yeah, that's
Okay.
her. Yeah, she was oh, Leon
Leon
was it no, Leon not Slater. He's in NXT. I
Ruff.
forget his name.
Leon Ruff.
Leon Ruff. Now he's Leon Ruffin. Yeah, that's his wife. Yeah, that's
Okay. Oh wow. I didn't know
they
that till just now.
yeah, she they announced her. But back in the day you had like Mike Chioda, Nick Patrick, Dave Hebner, Earl Hebner, um what's his name now? The stupid one that's a grifter. Jimmy Coderas. They have him. But yeah, you're right. I would love to be like, yeah, like say like there's a match between Gargano and Champa and say like the Street Profits and say like, yeah, Gargano specifically wanted Jessica Carr because she has a slower count on the outside because she doesn't want it. She hates count out. She wants to see a winner. Like, dude, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Love for that. Love for that to happen.
Yeah.
But but yeah, as you said, Wes looked out there, and then Tony just limps quickly to the back, and as we've seen a little bit to a waiting car. But right ahead of the break, they did tease that Stephanie Vacker would be out to the ring for a promo. And back from the break, we did this was a progressive spotlight. We had a progressive spotlight on OTM, who we found out later tonight would be returning next week for
They
a match we'll talk about.
I've never seen them before, but I'm very interested to see them. They seem like, especially later on when they're revealed to be Chase U's opponents, they all go, "Oh shit! Oh fuck! What did we do?" Like, so I'm interested to watch
So
next week and see them get crushed.
they've retooled OTM a bit here. I feel like they have completely separated Jada Parker from them at this point. I think that's why they kind of took him off TV kind of intermittently there for a little bit. Because they brought Jada in to be with them. And then she just very quickly eclipsed them and just, pulled away. And they tried a couple times to kind of keep them associated with one another. I think maybe they were
Yeah,
hoping that Jada's heat would kind of transfer, and it really didn't. And I think Sean very quickly got worried that where OTM was on the card was going to negatively affect Jada, so they split
I
him.
think
But
I even remember an NXT show where you said, "Get Jada away from these guys now."
yeah, well, and that was my concern because I think that was around the same time that up on the main roster, Lyra Valkyria was running around with Caden Carter and Katana Chance. Like,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
um,
Yeah,
so I think that was around the same time. I'm like, I don't want to see the same thing happen here,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm actually excited to see OTM come back. They've got such a good look, and they've got relatively believable personas here. But yeah, they're just going to absolutely lay waste to Kale Dixon and fourth generation superstar Uriah Connors.
wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, so woof, this next segment, man, oh, it fell off the table very quickly with Stephanie. Like, so she says last week Jordan became the number one contender by beating Julia, and she has respect for her journey on the top of the TNA, trying to reach the top in NXT. She switches to Spanish, having clearly fumbled some of what the last statement to get her last words in. She tries to pick it back up in English, but enter Fatal Influence, JC Jane, and Fallon Henley. Yeah, that was kind of rough.
Yeah, and I will say, like, that is uncharacteristic for her. Her English
Yeah,
has come along super, super well. I've said this
yeah,
multiple times on air that I've actually been blown away by it. And she stated that that was one of the reasons why she chose to go to NXT was that she wanted to work on her language and her
yeah,
promos, and
yeah,
also to learn the kind of the WWE system and all of that, which is smart.
Yeah,
Learn the TV system down there. But she's coming along very well, and this was kind of the misstep. And I'm wondering, and this is just me spitballing. They've had her pulling double duty. She's been, kind of moonlighting up on the main roster, and probably maybe traveling a little more heavy recently. And I wonder
yeah.
if maybe she's just a little tired. That's kind of my best explanation for it, because normally she's very good here.
Yeah. Well, so Fallon says it must be nice to be on top of the world. Everybody loves Stephanie Vacker, and she's truly one of a kind. But exactly what's going to make her downfall even sweeter? JC Jane steps up and says that, it must be nice that you held the NXT North American Women's Championship and Stephanie has singles gold, but I don't know anything about that. But she says, but don't worry about it. Stephanie's not holding that title much longer. This is Fatal Influence's world, and Vancouver isn't long for it. And enter Jordan Grace. She says she's not here to save the day. She's just here to protect her investment.
Mm.
JC talks about how, Vancouver says she's not an investment. JC talks
Yeah,
about how
she was not happy about that. She didn't
yeah,
like that one.
no, JC talked about how she ended friendships. Fallon calls her the past. JC brushes past it and says that Stephanie and Jordan were traveling the world and they were holding it down and they deserved the top spots. And Vancouver says Grace lost because Vancouver says Grace lost before and she'll lose again. Jordan said she's going to make sure Stephanie makes it to Battleground in one piece somehow, and Fatal Influence gets the last word.
And this would set up for what was our main event tonight. The little bit of like English, to Spanish issues for Stephanie here. I thought the promo overall was solid between the women. This is one of those instances where you've got 52 weeks of television a year, and you've got to have a main event. You got to book a main event. And
Yeah.
I know that Sean probably feels that he's only got so many matches and main events he's going to be able to book with Stephanie at this point, because she really does have a boot on the main roster at this point. And
Yeah.
which is, I kind of look for them to drop the strap from her to Jordan at Battleground.
And now you're kind of put in more of a vicarious spot because it looks like Roxanne's on the main roster now. It looks like Julia's on the main roster now. And you could have you could have done another rematch with Stephanie and Roxanne, or Julia and Stephanie, but now that's out the window. So I hope Sean has the foresight, and I think he does, to maybe get some of these women who who have been on TV but have been jobbing and not really doing a lot, kind of like a JC Jane or a Thea Hale, or maybe even like we talked about before, Tatum Paxley, maybe getting out of that North American Championship thing and getting more into the main title. Because honestly, like you could realistically have a JC Jane versus Stephanie Vacourt title match on TV, or Tatum Paxley versus Jordan Grace on TV.
And that'd be a great matchup too, because let's say just Jordan Grace wins the belt. Tatum, if they build her up as being dark and a lunatic, she's obviously not as strong or physically athletic as someone like Jordan Grace, but she's nutty enough that you could believe that she could potentially win. But yeah, they've got room to start moving some people up there, and I think I'm with you. I think Sean's probably got a good handle on it. There's I wouldn't have guessed 20, 25 years ago that Shawn Michaels would be an ace at booking women's wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, go back and look at that I Lost My Smile promo where he's all sewn it up, and look at the Shawn Michaels now, and it's a completely different person. Like, listen, I'm not really into the whole like born again thing, but it kind of worked for Shawn.
Yeah,
he
got a lot better there internally for himself.
Yeah.
He had a lot of problems for a long time.
So back to the show, we get Miles Bourne observes that Charlie Dempsey is in no state to be at ringside, and the other members agree, and he tells him to take Charlie to the trainer's room because he's got this, and we go to break. And here is the big eye roll moment of the night for me, because I absolutely despise Bully Ray, or Bubba Ray Dudley, whatever he's calling himself this week, and The Undertaker. But I'm going to go over the segment. So, Tyra May Steele and Zena Sterling are backstage with The Undertaker and Bubba Ray Dudley. Bubba says they've earned the right to compete in the LFG finals on Sunday, but only one of them can take the NXT contract. A bunch of NXT women roll up, including Lash Legend, and says that they're going to make whoever wins wish they hadn't. Um, Right after that, Tony D'Angelo is shown rushing to a car to drive to a safe house for Adriana Rizzo, which I did like because he told the cameraman to get in.
Yeah, you know what? That was good because, like, especially with family segments, they really do bust that believability because they're one of the groups that get the music. They'll get back music to some of their vignettes, multiple camera angles, which like lets you just know from a production standpoint. If you know production stuff, there were cuts. That's how that
Yeah.
works. But I did like that touch though. Like, get in the car. It explains why a cameraman is actually coming with them, and they must have some pretty good broadcasting equipment there to send a live feed from wherever that safe house was with
Listen,
the high def camera.
the Tony D stuff for a long time, I've been like, oh, it's cheesy. Oh, this is stupid. This is a wrestling show. This is like a 1995 gimmick. But from what I've seen since the Channing Stacks made the turn
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff with what's his name? The dude that was out in the desert,
Luca Crusifino.
Crucifino, and the stuff with Adriana Rizzo and Stacks trying to like rise to this like the instead of the underboss becoming the boss. Yeah, it's still cheesy as fuck, don't get me wrong, but it's a good cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
It's entertaining. Like I remember I saw a Tony D'Angelo and Oba Femi sitting down in like an Italian restaurant and they were just
Mm-hmm.
talking to each other. And obviously there was a lot of cuts and it was produced and it was music. But I was like, holy shit, this is cheesy as fuck, but I'm not cringing. This is
Mm-hmm.
okay. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm listen, I'm not starting to come around on Tony D, but I am starting to come around on Tony D.
Okay. All right. It is good progressive movement. I've said this about NXT a few times, but they have a knack for taking gimmicks and talent in general that when I first see him, especially the first few weeks, I'm like, man, this is just it. I don't know. And then within like a 6 month time frame, I'm ready to buy merch. It really is. It's
Yeah.
astonishing, but yeah, it's fun. You're right, but it is cheese, but in a believable way, and it really helped when they, as a group, kind of started to lean face. I think it gave them a little more heart there, and Adriana Rizzo was a big part of adding that to them.
Yeah, and I remember seeing like when Tony D'Angelo first debuted, I remember him like walking the streets in New York and grabbing a piece of pizza and like pushing people going out of the way, going, "Hey, I'm walking here," and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Oh, this is fucking cheesy." But then when I watched tonight, and I'm like, "Oh, this is only like 2.5 years later, and this shit seems like serious, even though it's not serious, but it seems serious."
Right.
I'm like, wow, the progression from forget about it to like getting hit in the knee with a tire iron and you're trying to go save your friend is like it's
Right.
like, oh wow, this has come a long way. It's compelling.
Yeah, I fully agree. But so as they're making their way there, we did break back to the performance center where we saw Miles Bourne waiting in the ring, not having gotten an entrance, which again filled me full of anxiety as to what would come of this match. And then Ethan Page, he got an entrance.
That
Ali
music is
go.
awful.
I'm apparently the only person that likes that theme song.
I can't stand ego. Oh god,
Like
no.
it's no fiend by
Oh.
Ethan Little.
Listen, I don't like that song. I was just
I
using it
know.
as an example
I know.
earlier.
I just
But
that was
you
the
know what?
first one
Hey,
that popped in.
I've been a big like when the NXT crowd was chanting Tony fumbled to like Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints and Ethan Page. Never been a big Ethan Page guy. I think I saw one match where he wrestled at ROH Final Battle 2023 where he beat Tony Nese in a fight without honor, and I was like, okay, that's about enough. I don't need to see any more like Ethan Page. Like this is the top. But I didn't. I didn't hate him tonight. I didn't hate him, and I actually liked this match.
Well, I mean, he was already a heel, but his more heelish heel turn when they had him get a little more brutal, a little more violent when he broke Javon Evans's jaw, and they did
Yeah,
just that horrendously bloody spot with the capsules and stuff. It looked like a horror
yeah,
show. I think that's helped him a lot. I think
yeah,
giving him that harder edge, that extra facet, has just made him a better heel and a better worker. But I
yeah.
like this. I like him as kind of that, he's a spoiler. That's what he was trying to go in here and do. And when it was all said and done, Miles Bourne pulling it out, getting the 1, 2, 3.
With a drop kick.
Yeah. Well, he is Randy Orton Jr. A
Yeah,
beautiful
he is the drop kickman.
the drop kickman. The crowd's into it. The crowd is into it. And I was worried too that like Charlie Dempsey was going to run down here and fuck this up for him, but none of
Oh,
that
dude.
happened.
See, but that's the thing about Ethan Page. They've done such a good job of making him come off like a smarmy douchebag that when he does come in and say, "Hey, I'm going to take your title shot," you're like, "Oh no, he's actually going to do it,"
Yeah,
And when
they
they
gave
throw
us
you a
false hope.
curveball, yeah, when they throw you a curveball like this tonight, it's actually really good. Um, I'm interested to see what they do with the dropkick gimmick because he eliminated both, Sean Spears and Ethan Page last week with it, and now he hits a finisher and he hits the wheelbarrow float over pin to pin Ethan Page. I was like, that was the finish. Holy shit, they're really getting this dropkick over.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Who was the last guy that would use a drop kick as a finish? One of the Killer Bees. Was it Jim? Did Jim Brunzell use a drop kick as a finish?
So the last person that I knew that didn't use it as a finish, but used it as a setup move was Okada because it was right before he would hit the Rainmakers. He would
Okay,
hit that huge drop kick. But I don't really remember. I'm trying to think because I know that Brian Danielson used to hit it in the corner like that
right,
running like twisting like drop kick. But I don't think I think he might have used it as a finisher a couple of times, maybe on TV
right.
just to get over like, oh, Brian can beat you with any move, but as an actual like finisher, I don't really remember.
It is an interesting choice, but he does have a great looking drop kick.
Oh, dude, excellent.
I mean, actually, any of Randy Orton's moves that he does very professionally. That
Yeah,
his power slam looks crisp. Like he's good. The crowd likes him too. He's over.
I'm actually looking up right now. Wrestlers use a drop kick as a finish on Google, and let me see. No, it doesn't really.
Okay, all right.
No,
Well,
nope, nope.
breaking the mold here
Yeah,
is Miles Bourne.
yeah.
But yeah, but solid. Really glad that Miles will be keeping that contendership and getting that match at Battleground. Like I said, I don't think he's going to win it, but I do think it's going to be a very, very entertaining and good match. Uh, from there,
Somebody said that Jack Gallagher used to use the drop kick as a finisher.
okay,
There we go.
when would that have been?
I don't know. It just said someone said on Reddit, has anybody used a drop kick recently in the past 10 years as a finisher? And someone
Okay,
said Hardcore Holly used it for a stretch on house shows that I went to as a kid, but the last person I saw doing it on TV was Jack Gallagher in 2017, 2018.
wow. Okay, there we are.
There
Oh
we go.
yeah.
All right.
The story of the dropkick. All right, coming back, we had a promo on X from Sean Legacy, who is a WWE ID performer, and yeah, he was calling out Javon Evans with a pretty short promo here, but reasonably good. It's solid. I think he must have been in that. He was in the Battle Royal last week. Last week kind of bled together there. But I gotta say, Sean Legacy isn't a horrible name. It's not a bad name.
No, but his freaking Dave Finley looking ass. I thought that was Dave Finley when I first looked at him. I was like, holy shit, that's. But what's his name? His brother is in Chase U now. Dave Finley's brother. What's his name? What are
Fourth
the guy?
generation superstar Uriah Connors.
Uriah Connors. Yeah, that's his brother. Yeah.
Oh wow,
So
okay, that I did not know.
Fit Finley is his dad,
That I
I
knew.
believe.
I had to run up the because I remember like when he was on Now, this is going back to when CJ and I were covering NXT Level Up, when
Yep.
Level Up was still a thing.
Yeah.
But you're right, was on Level Up. Actually, he and Kale were working a feud against one another when Level Up ended. But they had mentioned on commentary that he was a fourth generation wrestler. I'm like, what? And and then I ran that back. I'm like, I didn't know that Finley was a third generation wrestler. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, Uriah Connors looks just like Dave Finley too. And I saw him, I was like, oh, there's Dave Finley's brother. Okay, I know that guy. So yeah.
I go back and
But
forth on the name Uriah Connors too.
oh, Uriah Connors. Yeah. Uriah
I go
Connors.
back
Yeah.
and forth. Like, I like Uriah, but it just makes me think of that band Uriah Heep, which is old and probably like 8 people know what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm also 40, so you know.
Yeah, so yeah. Well,
But
I think we're the only DSR guys that are on this side of that line. So
yeah.
yeah.
But all right, let's see. So we get the Twitter promo from Sean Legacy where he cuts promo. Javon Evans is watching the video on his phone backstage, and Ashanti the Adonis asks him why he's worrying about Evolve talent. And snipes that snaps and says that Adonis says that he main evented Stand and Deliver. He doesn't need to waste time with indie wrestlers. Javon snaps and says that he respects the indie wrestlers, and Ricky Stanks books a match. I don't know how he can do that. Between Ashanti and Javon, where the winner gets a shot at the NXT North American Championship. Right after that, Thea Hall makes her entrance, and they send us to break. Back from commercial, we get a replay at the end of the video of Stacks outside the safe house. Tony and his driver arrive at the safe house, and Tony tells him to get the rest of his boys and walks up to the house when Stacks takes him out with a couple of whacks and a crowbar to the knee. Channing talks some trash. Tony tries to fight back, but he's too hurt. And Stack shoves him back down. He says he's going to humiliate him at the end and deliver as a choice. And he humiliated him at Stand and Deliver as a choice. And at Battleground, he'll end D'Angelo and the family once and for all.
Yeah, I like this, and they would make it official just a little bit later. But yeah, so we're gonna
No
get
gimmick,
the
though.
yeah, that's a little surprising. So maybe they could maybe try to get a little more out of this still.
That's what I thought. I thought this was a throughway to another match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they probably will play up. I mean, because it's only a couple weeks away, they could probably play up that Tony's knee is messed up from taking
Yeah.
a crowbar to it.
Yeah.
That could definitely be part of the story. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think this has been a fun feud so far. And Stax's turn was well, it was a little telegraphed when it happened. I thought it worked, and
Yeah.
the crowd's buying it. The crowd's into it, and that's kind of the whole point.
So do you see this? Do you see this ending up with Crusifino and Adriana Rizzo maybe joining up with Stacks, and this has been a ploy the whole time, where where Tony thinks, oh hey, he's gone, he killed him, he's dead in the desert, and then at Battleground they all turn on Tony.
I've thought about that a couple times. I wouldn't hate that because I really do think that Tony's competent enough as a character and in ring to stand on his own at this point, either at NXT or if they want to try to find a place for that character on the main roster, either way. But I don't know that Stacks really is. I think just to kind of, really get the momentum going with this heel persona for him, having people to do, dirty things for him is a good idea. Having, someone like Luca, so if someone's trying to get to Stacks, we gotta go through Luca first.
Yeah. Yep.
Like having someone, in the way of a baby face is always a good idea. So I wouldn't be against that, and I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on that because it kind of crossed my mind, like maybe he already got to Adriana and turned her, so what I was thinking.
Yeah, I could.
But,
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. You want to take us into the next match, Paxley and Hall?
Yeah, so we had Tatum Paxley making her entrance. Very despondent, very upset. No smiles, not having fun. Just lackluster getting in the corner.
Great makeup.
Tatum.
Great makeup though. Job looked like she was crying.
Oh yeah, they did a solid job with that. Like I said, like she's really good at the character aspect here. they did establish as the match was going on that Jada Parker was watching as
Mhm.
she and Thea Hale have gotten into it over the past couple weeks here. Thea has made her return to NXT television.
Mhm.
The match wasn't super long. This was one of the shorter ones on the card tonight as Tatum just absolutely lost it, went off her rocker, ignoring referee discretion and orders and getting disqualified here tonight. So Thea Hale getting the win, uh, but not looking like the winner here tonight.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm fine with it. Like I said, I feel like with Tatum losing the group that they had really seemingly put some momentum behind. You know, her
Yeah.
and GP were tagging together, not just on NXT, but over in TNA as well. You know, and I thought Shotzi, I know that, you know, Shotzi's had some injuries, but I thought that she was very good in that outside the ring role for
Can
them as well.
can we also mention that Shotzi at one point pinned Stephanie Vacour?
Right? Right? So, I mean, God. Yeah, so if they want to do something with Tatum, and I want them to do something with Tatum because I like Tatum Paxley. This is what you do. You got to get her back in the singles realm. You got to do something different with her character, but like let her keep her core the same. Let her be dark. Let her be twisted. Let her be violent. This will work. Um,
Mentioned that she went for Thea's eyes, like poking, like trying to push in her eyes. Like that was crazy.
yeah, there was she's God, yeah, I dig it. Like I said, she plays crazy very well, and she just
Yeah.
went completely unhinged here, and I dug it. I dug it. I'm here for it. So you know, let's go heel Tatum Paxley. So.
So after that, backstage, Kalani Jordan complains about losing to Zarya, and the end result is an agreement to run the match back next week. And if Kalani wins, she gets a shot at Sol Ruka's NXT North American Women's Championship, which upsets Zarya, and we cut away. We see a quick promo of Joe Hendry and Trick Williams being seated for their contract segment, and we go to break. When we come back, Ava presides over the contract signing of TNA World Heavyweight Champion Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. What did you think of this whole thing, Tyler? Did
Well,
you like it? Do you think it should have been in the ring?
so that was the first thing I was going to bring up. I was surprised that it wasn't an in ring segment.
Mhm.
I assumed, I guess, that it would be, but with NXT, I shouldn't because this is the first time they've done something like this where they were like, "Oh, we're going to have a tag team summit," and it's a pre-tape segment. The promo work itself, I thought was good. You
Yeah,
know, Trick Williams, you know, leaning into the whole I'm, you know, bigger than NXT, I'm bigger than TNA, I'm going to take the belt from you. Joe Hendry, or him saying that, you know, Hendry's, you know, had his moment of fame here with his, you know, cutesy songs and everything, but then Hendry turning around saying that no, it's Trick, whose 15 minutes are going to be up after Battleground. It was played more serious,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. It
and
was.
I
We haven't seen that side of Joe Henry very often.
yeah, and maybe that's a portion of the reason as to why they did this as a pre-tape segment in a, you know, more office type setting is, you know, you put Hendry in front of that crowd and the crowd's going to react for Joe Hendry the way they react for Joe Hendry, and it might be a little more difficult for him to have that gravitas, that little more, you know, serious air to what he's saying with the crowd, you know, going,
Yeah.
you know, goofy for him.
The one thing that I did like that Henry said, which was a great line, and I've never seen him this serious before. He said that nobody is more confident than Trick, but that's on the outside. And maybe this isn't the biggest match of his career, but it's the most important because Trick's at a crossroad right now. There's no path back to the NXT championship for him. And once he loses the TNA championship, he'll have no path to go anywhere and everything's going to come crashing down and he's going to be a nobody, which
Yeah.
was just a great line from Joe, and
And again,
really
much
made
more
the match seem
serious.
important. Yeah,
Like, you know,
absolutely. It just made
cutting
it
him
seem
down into
so important.
which they'll go in a goofier direction next week, as they did announce that there's going to be a Joe Hendry
Oh, I
concert
know. I was like, what? And
and
the
a Trick
rap.
Williams rap. Yeah, so
Oh,
and I, well, yeah, I'll get the graphic up for that. But like I said, they did announce that just a little
oh,
bit later. But yeah, they really just added an extra air of importance to this match, which is good. You know, a lot of folks have and again, Matt, corner reviewer over on our TNA show on Thursdays, he
Shut
has
up,
said
Matt.
this. He has said this a lot, in that folks saying that the NXT TNA agreement is one-sided. He's like, if you're saying it's one-sided, it's because you're only watching one side of it.
Yeah,
But I do think if they go with this and go with the title change here at Battleground, it might quiet a good bit of that, letting Trick
yeah,
Williams be over there and, eventually put someone at TNA over before he, heads north to the main roster of WWE. I
yeah,
like it. And I like heel Trick. I wasn't thrilled when they started leaning that way because I didn't feel like they needed to do it. But I think he's doing a good job here of it. And I've dug it. It, just kind of like with Roxanne Perez, it took a few weeks. It took a little longer for Roxy, but with Trick, it took a few weeks to kind of get the wheels rolling with it. But
yeah,
he's doing a good job with it.
yeah, and yeah, Trick. That whole thing was just like, oh, you're a flash in the pan. You're 15 minutes of fame, and then to end the contract signing, Joe says, "You're going to find out what it's like to have 15 minutes of fame when I beat you." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah,
But hey, you got to remember, Joe Henry. For everything that people say, oh, he's just a meme guy. He's not a good wrestler. But say what you want about him, but the guy was the first contracted NXT talent to ever fight for a WWE championship, the NXT championship against
hmm
Ethan Page. And now he's the first TNA wrestler to come over to WWE and defend a TNA World Championship in WWE. Like
yeah,
that's a huge accomplishment,
yeah. It is, and then he will without question land in WWE at some point, And I
yeah.
think he won a lot of points with management, being kind of that bench for WrestleMania, coming in
So
last minute.
I don't know if you heard, but there's going to be a Chris Van Vliet interview coming out with Joe Henry in the next like couple of days or so. And Fightful reported today that Joe Hendry told Chris Van Vliet that his contract expires sometime this year.
Oh, okay. So that'll probably be happening a little sooner
Yeah, he
rather
said
than
he
later.
he said. So I got it right here. It said at one point during the interview, Henry told Chris Van Vliet, "I'm in my contract year with TNA. I don't know what the future holds for me. I would love to stay there. I would love to be the world champion for a little bit longer, but I don't know what my career is. I don't know what career path I'm going to take. My heart belongs in TNA."
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see where Mr. Hendry lands there.
Yeah,
And again, with the working agreement, even if he is contracted to WWE, probably I imagine NXT for a bit before he would go up to the main roster. That doesn't mean it doesn't close a door on
no,
him working TNA and being able to do things there as well. But interesting. I'm interested to hear that interview. That'll be all the Chris Van Vliet interviews usually pretty fun. He's a good interviewer, really.
yeah.
But
But so we're back from commercial, and Hank and Tank roll up to express their sympathies to Josh Briggs.
a lonely Josh Briggs. Oh, yep, there we are. Okay.
Okay. So back from commercial, Hank and Tank roll up to express their sympathies to Josh Briggs. Briggs says that he wishes he didn't push Inamura away, and they said they're here for him if he needs anything. Sean Spears rolls up and gets in Josh's head, pointing out that he loses friends, and when it comes to relationships, he's a cancer waiting to explode. Briggs says that he doesn't need his wisdom, and he does have a really good idea of how to clear his head, which I'm assuming is probably a match next week with Spears. Um, Kale Dixon and Uriah Connors are backstage with Ava Rain. Chase U is back in full force, and they want to get the ball rolling with some matches, and she books them in a tag match next week. Andre Chase rolls up, and they crow about their tag team match, and Rain informs them it'll be against the returning OTM, which leads to Andre to blow up and ask them what the fuck is wrong with guys, what the fuck? In
Uh,
his usual sticky manner.
yeah, and I know they always censor his mouth with the Chase U logo there. I love that as a little character, just like flourish for Andre Chase to be consistently dropping f bombs, telling students to shut the f up, calling them stupid sons of bitches. It's fantastic. I love Chase U.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things. It's like it's goofy. It's a little corny, But my God, it's just such an important piece of NXT at this point, and it's a good stepping stone for talent at NXT. I love Andre Chase.
Yeah. So that takes us to the main event of Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley and JC Jane versus Jordan Grace and Stephanie Vancouver. Um, this was just a typical NXT women's title match, or tag team match. With the can they coexist, Stephanie
Right.
Vacker and Jordan Grace, like WWE loves to do. Really, not much to talk about, but
I don't buy into the can they coexist thing quite as much either when they're faces.
I
Like
mean,
if one's a heel and one's a face, it's like okay. If they're both heels, it's like okay, I get that they would. But like when you're both faces, like I feel like you're going to get along a little better, a little more
but you
easily.
but you can't tell me that Jordan Grace doesn't have that heel look. Like she
Yeah,
could turn from heel to face like that, and it would just
yeah,
be seamless. So, because I mean, I thought the same thing when Rhea Ripley raised Io Sky's hand on Raw. I thought she was going to clothesline her, or she was going to
yeah.
walk out on her. And the same thing I thought tonight. I was like, nah, that's probably not a chance of it happening. But if she just decked Stephanie Vacker right now and just beat the shit out of her for like the next 3 minutes, I was like, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of speaking of which, I kind of
Hey,
as the match ended with like 4 minutes to go to the hour, so I kind of assumed we were going to get some kind of post match like squabble between them, but
yeah,
we didn't. Although I do like the visual of Jordan Grace, like yeah, well, I'm raising your hand, but I am looking at that championship there that you're holding aloft.
yeah, and it looked like they kind of messed up the timing at the end because when they went backstage to the Ethan Page blind signing Ricky Saints and leaving him up against the garage door, they came back and it looked like Stephanie Vaco was walking back down the aisle like to raise her
Yeah.
title back up. So someone backstage must have been like, no, 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 go, we got like 2 more minutes.
Go, go, go. Hey, that's
Yeah,
the beauty of live television. But yeah,
yeah,
we as you said, we had Ethan Page jumping Ricky backstage. So um, I assume, and they did from there. They did announce the card as it stands at Battleground.
yep,
Um, and I'm assuming that we're going to get Ethan and Ricky added to that.
yeah, probably,
So that'll be the fifth match because that's what they like to do. They like that 5 match
yeah,
formula for NXT shows, which I like for the most part. I'm not going to get mad. Maybe this is a little selfish as someone who covers NXT. I don't mind like a 2.5 hour PLE.
yeah,
It's a little tighter. You get in, you get out. I don't have a problem with that. Also, this kind of goes back to something I said earlier tonight. You've got 52 main events that you have to book a year
yeah, I
for
know,
television. And by only doing 5 matches, yeah, you're not getting all your titles on the
yeah,
PLE, but you rotate some of them in and out, and some of them are going to be the
yeah,
main event of the NXT either before or after the
yep,
PLE, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually think that's a helpful booking tool because, my God, you
yeah.
get yourself, they get put in a corner too often otherwise.
Yeah, I'd love to see like, when WWE has like a PLE coming up on a Saturday, they'll put like a big time like title match. Like they'll put like a United States title match in the main event of that SmackDown because they don't have room for it on the pay-per-view. So they do it the show before. So why not put Ricky and Ethan on next week's show
Mm, okay,
in the
I
main
can get
event,
behind that.
and have that be like whetting your appetite for the PLE.
Yeah. I could
Yeah.
absolutely get
Yeah.
behind that, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they can quite easily find a a fifth match to plug in if that were the case. Probably another
Yeah.
women's match. Usually they have a lot more women on the card than they have on Battleground as it stands.
Do Thea Hale and Jada Parker.
There you go. Yep. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Again, if they don't do that next week on
Yeah.
television,
I know. Tell me about it. I know. But
but
hey, man, listen. This is my first watching a full NXT show in a year, and I actually enjoyed myself. I mean, there was a couple of times where I found myself on my phone, admittedly, but I mean, overall, I give it a B.
all right, all right. I'll take that. I'll take that, Magus. as a non-habitual WWE viewer, I will absolutely take that as a high mark for NXT. Now, real quick here, we will get into our megastars and jobbers of the night. Real quick before hopping into that, anything else on tonight's show that we didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Um, so, sometimes, admittedly, because I'm my own worst critic, I'll watch somebody like a Tony D'Angelo like last year, and I'll go, and without seeing him for a year, just go, well, he's the same guy I saw last year, so fuck it, you know? And then I actually watch a match with him and I'm like, oh no, he's a completely different guy. Like this is like he's had a year to like fine tune his character and his in-ring skills. And I'm like, oh shit. So sometimes I'll be like, I don't like this guy. I didn't like him a year ago, so fuck it. I'm not gonna watch any of them. And then I watch him and I'm just like, all right, well, yeah, no, this guy's good now. I like him. So I think I'm going to apply that to NXT now because when I watched NXT last year, I think I gave the show like a C or a C minus, and I gave it a B this time around, and it was pretty much the same people, except for like Stephanie and Ricky Saints and stuff
Yeah,
like that were on the show last year, and everybody who I saw just improved like so much. So what is it going to be like a year from now? Or 6 months from now, when I'm on vacation again and I get to do this show with you again, it's only going to get better. You might get an A minus out of me. So I think I'm going to make a concerted effort to keep a better eye on NXT. I still won't be able to watch the show because I'm
right.
at work, but maybe maybe type in NXT into the Twitter bar and maybe watch some clips, maybe watch a full match on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
So
and hell yeah, man! And that's that's one of my favorite things about NXT in general is that progression of talent. Watching them, you know, just improve, or in some cases fall off completely. That also happens.
yeah.
Um, I would wager to say, had you seen Lexus King tonight, you would probably say that you feel Lexus King is roughly in the same spot he was in a year ago.
Well, no,
Um,
he's not. He's lower because he's in Evolve now.
oh fudge! I didn't realize that's where he disappeared off to after losing the Heritage Cup. Oh, poor
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
poor guy.
Where was Noam Dar tonight? I would have loved to have seen Noam
Yeah,
Dar.
he wasn't on last week either. He hasn't. The last time he was on TV was when they had Metaphor split up there right before they
Dude,
released.
did you see that segment where they were all saying goodbye to each other and then like 2 days later they all got released? I'm like, I felt like they set that up for them to say like goodbye because they knew those release not the wrestlers, but the company knew the releases were coming.
I agree with that because the reason is because they kept Noam and Lash, and when Lash was like kind of breaking it all down, she's like, oh, like Noam Dar's Heritage Cup champ, you're gonna do your thing. Oro's kicking ass on Evolve, and then she turns to Jakara and she's like, and Jakara's gonna do her thing, and I'm gonna do mine, and I'm like, why the hell would you split up that tag team?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, they released Jakara Jackson. That's why they split up the
And
tag team.
and you know me, I really like Jakara Jackson. I thought she was improving when they let her go. But hey, she said that she's going to continue wrestling. I think the
Good.
only person that said that she wasn't going to was
Danny Palmer.
Danny Palmer, but she's kind of a weirdo, so whatever. Go.
Well, I always wonder too, there are Hi Celeste, okay. There are talent in NXT that were, ID wrestlers or the college program, like where they've only ever worked in that WWE environment. Like I remember
Yeah.
one of Caden Carter and Katana Chance, one of them was that way, and Danny Palmer was kind of that way. And I always kind of wonder when you only work that environment and then you're not wrestling for WWE anymore. Do you
The
have that
indies might seem scary.
Yeah. Molly, did you get scared? Celeste like lead up to Molly, and Molly took issue with that, which is
Um,
unusual. Like they're
but
friends
yeah, I
usually.
mean, if you've only known the WWE system, there's like a lot of uncertainty. Am I going to be accepted by the hardcore indie crowd? Am I going to be able to wrestle the indie style? Like, and like, look, there's a big difference between like um, let's say like a ICW in Britain where they wrestle, like just like sometimes hardcore matches, but like technical wrestling and stuff, as compared to like a GCW where you're bound to get hit over the head with a fucking light tube. So
Right.
you got to weigh that. It's like, hey, do I want to go get hit with a light tube to make $45 a night, or do I want to go get like a, whatever, use my college degree to go do a job for like 70, $80 an hour,
Right.
So you know, I mean, hey, look, I'm excited to see what happens with Dakota Kai specifically. I think she's going to go to AEW. I think she might wrestle on the Indies, maybe go back to like some Australian Indies.
Oh, I lost it. I can't hear you.
Hold on.
Oh, now I can. Oh, now I can't. I heard you there for a second. I lost you again. I can't hear you.
Again.
Oh, now I can.
Hold on.
I I can now. Oh, we're awaiting the return of Mac, which may or may not be what the song was about specifically. And he's back.
I'm back.
Okay, I can hear you now too. Excellent. Sorry, what were we
So
saying though?
the last thing I was going to say is that I hope that Jakara Jackson doesn't slip through the cracks. I really hope she continues wrestling because I thought she was really good with Lash. I thought she was coming into her own. So I hope she continues.
Yeah, I same. I liked her. I liked them as a team. Talking about Dakota Kai going to AEW, she's probably the really the biggest name that I would say the AEW needs to jump on.
Yeah.
I don't think they really need to hop on a whole lot of people, honestly,
No.
but
No.
she is one for sure that I
Yeah.
think you need to just snatch up when you have the opportunity to do it.
I
Because
think I said on X, stay away from Braun Strowman and Tony.
yeah, that's one where it's like I get it. Like Braun's one of those guys where like I felt bad after I gave him shit for how he ran, and then I found out that like he's basically paralyzed in like the majority of that. So it's just like, oh, okay, then quit putting him in positions to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I've heard he's a really nice guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's nice to people, but like that wasn't one that shocked me. Honestly, they were really
Yeah.
nice
No.
to people, but yeah, some folks will work their way back there, and some folks will, it's like what Matt Cardona said. You can coast off your WWE name, you can just fade away and do something else, or you can run onto the indie scene and try to have fun and make a lot of money. And so we'll see who does that. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking
Wrestling's a
forward to it.
wild place, and sometimes getting pushed onto the indie scene can really change their outlook and really like just mold who they become as that best version of themselves. I mean, look at someone like Drew McIntyre.
Yeah. I mean,
Going from released from 3MB to going to the Indies to getting just completely jacked and just becoming a believable badass. Like,
I always go back to and she didn't do any indies, but I always look at Tony Storm as the example of that, going to another place and having the grass be so much greener on the other side.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Wrestling's a wild place. But all right,
Yeah.
so let's hop here into the jobber of the night. The old jobber. Where's my sad sound? There it is. There
We
we
got
are.
production now. We don't got fog, but we got production.
No, we could have fog on my end, but that might go against like Facebook's community standards if we fire that up. But I just punched Molly in the foot. I'm so sorry, Molly. It's okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You gave her a FDT?
Oh no, not a PDT. Oh, Molly, I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. But jobber of the night, Max, sir, who do you have in the
Oh man. So I'm gonna go with a Fatal Influence, both of them, because from what I've seen, Fallon Henley went from looking like she was going to be the next Mandy Rose with the Fatal Influence gimmick, and
Mhm.
she's just been doing nothing but jobbing along with JC Jane, to the bigger stars the past couple weeks, and uh, she wants to get into the title picture again, but she just keeps losing. And they seem like they should be more important. Like when she was coming out with JC Jane, and who was the other one that was with them?
Jasmine Nix.
Jasmine Nix. When they were coming out with each other, and all three of them, I was like, wow, this really reminds me of the Mandy Rose group.
Hmm.
But and with Fallon obviously being Mandy, but I don't know. I don't feel that anymore, and it's not because she lost the title, because they can obviously still be a group and be dominant without the title. But now I just feel like they're jobbers now. And the last time I watched NXT, I was like, wow, they feel really important. They feel like this could be like a breakout moment for Fallon
Hmm.
Henley, and I just don't feel that with her anymore. I feel like she's getting lost in the mix, especially with Jordan and Stephanie there,
Yeah.
and Thea Hale kind of making like her ascension, breaking away from Chase U, and now trying to be on her own. It just they feel like they're lost in the shuffle. I had such high hopes for them.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like, she's kind of fallen off her track a little bit, and she was that one that really broke out when they split up Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs and Fallon Henley.
Yep.
I thought it was going to be Briggs immediately that was going to be like pushed that hard, but like she really found herself in a character there very quickly and just got that connection with the audience. And again, they turned her heel and it really took off for her. So I'm hoping they can correct course with her. I like Fallon a lot. I think she's really good.
By the way, they're not doing Josh Briggs any justice. I remember I used to go to Beyond Wrestling, and I used to watch him wrestle Chris Dickinson, Matt Tremont, Dijak, um, Nick Gage. I've seen this guy wrestle everybody. He main evented American Rana 2018 versus Nick Gage in like a fans bring the weapons match, and
Oh,
he
wow.
and then he had a technical match with MJF on the beach in Rhode Island that I went to for a Beyond Wrestling show. It was MJF's last independent match before he went to AEW, and I just never see this guy like given like any shine in NXT. Like if that guy from Beyond was in NXT right now, he'd be the fucking champion. And I've seen it firsthand with my own eyes, and I really wish they would do something with him.
Yeah, he's good. He's got a good. He's good at the character side of it. He's good on the mic. Um, I ended up liking the pairing of him and Inamara, but I initially wasn't psyched about it because I don't want him in a tag team at this
I don't
point.
either.
It's like if you
No.
want him to be in a tag team, you should have just kept him with Brooks Jensen. Again, and I like to say this every week when I get the chance. Brooks Jensen, son of Bull Buchanan. Um,
Oh, B squared.
yeah, B squared. Yeah, that's why when B squared when Brooks did the scissor kick and a couple weeks ago, Vic Joseph was like, "Oh, Booker T, he's doing the scissor kick." I'm like, he's not doing that because of Booker T.
No,
Come on, now,
no,
come on,
yeah,
Vic.
but yeah, I don't want to get off on a tangent to Josh Brooks, but he's going to lose to Sean Spears, and it's going to suck because he shouldn't be in this position.
Yeah,
But what was your jobber of the night there, Tyler?
all right, so I'm bringing this up here because it's this was just a weird segment in general.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it. I don't think it did anybody any favors. I am really struggling not just to name the entirety of the segment as the
Mm-hmm.
jobber here, but I didn't like it. And for me, it wasn't just because of the involvement of Taker and Bubba Ray. I don't really need to see Bubba Ray on TV all that much, but I do watch LFG. And I will say I
I'm
enjoy
sorry.
LFG. I like it. It's fun. It's fun. Well, part of the appeal for me was again there were several wrestlers advertised for it that were level up people. So I've got that soft spot in my heart for level up. As actually Tyra May Steele did some level up matches, but yeah, I didn't like it. I thought everyone looked. I thought it was weird that Nikita Lyons popped up. It's like, why are you even involving yourself? You're not on NXT anymore, Nikita.
Yeah, and
You
Lola
got
Vice
Mr.
deserves
Evolve.
so much more.
Yes, my God, she deserves better than just kind of. And she even looked awkward. I thought, like, she even kind of looked
Yep,
like, "Why am I here?" When they
yep.
first brought her on, like, she's like, "Am I on camera yet? Like, what am I doing?" Like, yeah, it's great, get them, in the segments and everything. But
Yeah.
I just the segment in general, I thought just it didn't hit any of the points or land on any of the marks that I think it needed to. So that whole segment was my job.
Hey, I picked 2 people, so
Right, so we get a little wild with how we make these selections from time to time, but that's going to take us to the happier place, the megastar.
wow, that budget, man.
But here we are. All right, sir. Who do you have in the coveted megastar? Oh, megastar night.
So I really like this promo. I think he appealed to kids with disabilities. So I'm going to go. Oh, hold on.
Can't hear you. Nope, can't hear you right now.
Now.
Oh, I can now. Yeah.
Okay, good. My other headphones died, but I got a backup.
Technology.
So yeah. So I think I'm going to go with Miles Bourne because he cut that great promo and he had he appealed to kids with disabilities, saying like, I grew up, I knew what it was like to be made fun of, I knew what it was like to be somebody that had a disability and told that he couldn't do it because he had a disability. So I think this was a really great promo, especially for kids watching, who might be deaf or have learning impairment, and have speech problems and stuff like that. So I thought it was a really good promo, and I thought it stuck out more than pretty much anything in the show. And it just makes you want to root for him even more because he's always been the underdog.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Miles was also my selection there for really the same reasons. It's getting that visibility for someone born deaf and growing up with that. Having to
Miles born deaf.
Oh my gosh, the merch is practically making itself at this point. It really, really genuinely is. Oh my god. Oh, built
Sorry,
different.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. Built different, born deaf. They've got a lot that they can go with here. But no, I thought it was a great promo, and he was my megastar last week as well for winning that battle royal and just getting the pops and the reaction from the crowd that he's getting. It's interesting to me how at NXT folks can just have this happen in just a few short weeks. And
yeah,
I love that they acknowledge that, make note of that, and sometimes seemingly adjust some of their short-term plans to see what they can do with someone in this position. And I do think that Miles is being put in a place where they're testing him out to an extent. I don't think he's going to beat Oba Femi. No. But I think that this is it's going to be a benchmark, and I think that this might be one of those matches that 20 years from now, that's on a best of Miles Bourne, DVD. If they're still doing DVDs, then they're probably doing DVDs. Then actually, WWE doesn't even make DVDs anymore.
No, they don't.
They stopped that last year. So
yeah,
but you know what?
You can find them on Etsy though. Like people make like custom ones. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Probably illegal, but right on.
yeah, whatever. A little piracy. It's never killed anybody, right? But guys, that's NXT. That's NXT in a nutshell, and probably more than a nutshell. It's a little bigger than a nutshell, right, Molly? But guys, if you had a good time with us tonight, breaking down NXT and talking it the way we do, I've got some pretty stellar news for you. We're not just here breaking down NXT week after week. No. Dirt Sheet Radio never stops because professional wrestling doesn't. We are here Monday nights for Raw, Tuesday nights for NXT, Wednesday nights, that's when you can catch the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program, where you also get the AEW Rewind. It's 2 shows for the price of 1, which is
that's
free.
What I'll be tomorrow night.
And Mac will be there. This is vacation week for Mac, so you are getting a lot of Mac all week. It is a Mac attack, an endless supply of Mac all week long.
A lot of people just tuned out.
Damn it! And Thursday nights, our sister show, as I like to say, for NXT. We have TNA Impact. And then Fridays, SmackDown, or SmackDown, if you like. And then on the weekends, when CJ and I can, we like to bring the Weekend Wrestling Roundup with the W, breaking down the week as we like to see it. And also on Sundays, every single week, we have the 3NT crew breaking it down and talking the week in wrestling. And they've got a pretty big interview coming up, right, Mac?
Yeah, they're going to be interviewing the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay, which I was taken back by.
Yeah, they've had some pretty, I think, some pretty big interviews on their program this year especially, but this, I think, is the biggest. You can make an argument. They had to add Sean, but for younger contemporary wrestlers, I think this is just a big get. So looking forward to that. But Mac, you said you'll be on the show tomorrow night. Where else can the folks find you out there?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram at Curbside Hero. Hey, I'm doing Dropkick reviews now on the Dropkick app. You can find me at Curbside Hero there. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can. It's Curbside Hero, but I really don't post there. I just kind of go there for news. So,
right on. And I'm Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster. You can find me at PW Hipster on Twitter and Facebook. It's the Pro Wrestling Hipster on Facebook. Give me a follow over there. That's where I do most things. But only follow me after you have given Dirt Sheet Radio a follow on all social media platforms. Hit that like and subscribe button. I know you get tired of hearing it, but please do it. It helps us out a lot. And you get notifications when we go live, so which is a lot. So thank you guys again so much. Mac, thank you for being here tonight, brother. It's always good to have you on. We'll see you next time, guys. Dirt Sheet Radio will be back live tomorrow night. We'll see you then, y'all. Thank you so much.